How you going? Hi there. I'm going to mix up some plaster because I am making a mould of this piece here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, for this, it's going to be a press mould for me to make maquettes for other big sculptures. But I thought I'd show you this because it's quite handy to know how to work with plaster, and not a lot of people know how to do it. What I'm using is, this is the plaster. I got it from Tarantes, which is a British suppliers, and this is dental plaster, which gives me very nice detail. It's not cheap, but different plasters give different quality of finish, and I found that this is really good for surface detail. I'm wearing a mask because when you're working with plaster, the dust comes up into the air, it's carcinogenic, you breathe in enough, it can actually affect your health quite badly, and a lot of old sculptors die or have big respiratory problems because of working materials. And I'm also using gloves. Some people get plaster burns, I don't, but it's just easier than cleaning it all out of your nails later. So I've got my mask on, so if I sound funny, I'm sorry. I've put, water-wise, I suppose I've got about, the water's about that deep in there. It's not freezing cold. The heat of the water will affect how quickly the plaster goes off. So I don't want it really hot because I don't want it to go too fast. And with plaster, you sprinkle the plaster into the water. So you lift it high and you sprinkle it like that. You want to try to avoid dropping massive lumps in because it helps it to be smoother. And you just literally do this for quite a long time until the water is full, and you can see that the plaster's rested on the bottom and built up. So I'm just finishing off one before I go on to the next one. So you watch out for the plaster to have built up from the bottom and it rests on top, and then you see like little islands appearing on top of the water. I'll just sprinkle it on. Okay. It's a bit like when you're rolling pastry and you sort of put flour down. Next bucket. Do you YouTube your films?
The films I make, yeah. Well, no, I haven't YouTubed them, but I film them. I've got one on YouTube, and I'm going to put some more on, I think.
I find it really enjoyable.
Mm.
It's nice because for me it's because I think a lot of it's down to the fact that I miss teaching, and I also think if you know a lot, or if you've spent years learning things, it's quite nice to be able to pass them on. Especially if your daughter doesn't want to learn from you. Hi Thea.
I do mine so I remember how I did it.
Yeah.
So there's lots of weird different things.
Yeah.
And I don't plan it just happens.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to remember.
Mind you, it might be with your work that you don't... Sorry, I've got another artist in the studio here I'm talking to. It might be though that if you're working on processes that are individual to you, you might not want to share them, whereas a lot of mine are just sort of manufacturing processes. Although I feel quite flattered when people are interested in trying to copy what I do.
Yeah.
It's that thing, sort of 1,000 people can try and copy a Jackson Pollock, but you can still tell which one's the Jackson Pollock. I think...
No, I wouldn't worry about that.
No.
Yes, I have done this, but we have poured it straight in, I seem to remember.
Really, it tends to go very lumpy. And I was just told that this was the way to get exactly the right mix. Some people do it by weight, but I was taught this first of all by... Did I tell you I was taught by a guy who used to work in an undertaker's doing death masks?
Yeah, lovely.
He was the first person who taught me how to work with plaster, and he was really interesting, and he always wore quite an amazing suit, if I remember rightly. Very, very smart, tidy three-piece suit. I never seemed to get any materials on him at all. You know, he became a tutor. He was, you know, he wasn't just somebody I picked up from an undertaker's. But he always seemed to be incredibly tidy and smart.
How did he do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Mind you, I once worked with an art teacher who was the head of art at one of the schools I taught at, who wore Jaeger jumpers. You know, soft white mohair Jaeger jumpers. And I'm just thinking, how did she keep clean? Because I'm just covered in rubbish all the time. I was wearing dungarees at the time, I think. I worked at one school where the headmaster insisted that I wore a skirt. So I showed him how elegant I looked with my skirt up around my thighs while I was sitting at the wheel trying to teach people how to throw on the wheel. And then he very kindly allowed me to wear trousers. This is going to go. Yeah, it is a lot. It's a big volume.
So what would you recommend for, because I need to do something with a cheap plaster, is there anything you'd recommend if I want to do something really...
What do you mean a cheap plaster? I mean, this is, when I say it's expensive to compare to other stuff, but it's not hugely, you know. But what's it for?
It's the gun that I did, but I didn't, somebody at the school wanted to conserve money, so they suggested wrapping this gun with plaster rather than putting the gun in a tub and then surrounding it and then chipping into it. I wanted something to emerge, rather like, I can't remember the name of the artist, but it's like an object, having like a telephone surrounded by plaster that's chipped into.
Oh, okay. So it's like you've chipped through the it's almost like you chipped through rock and you found this buried
Exactly.
in it.
Yeah, but what they recommended was to do it the other way around, which didn't really work.
So do you have the gun with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just show you this, because this is where we got. Okay. So here. Can you see in there? So they're like little islands. Yeah, little islands. Okay. Now it's trying to get my hand in. And what I do is a motion like that, and if I feel any lumps, I sort of squish them between my hands. That's a nice smooth mix. Okay, that all feels fine.
And how long does it take to set?
It depends on how much the volume you've got and how warm it is and everything, and lots of things. I mean, it will start going off in a few minutes, and it sets from the base of the thing upwards now. Let's see if I can show you that. Okay, first layer I'm just going to splat on, because I want to get a thin layer that expels air, because the thing about when you're casting something is you don't want air bubbles appearing around the place. I mean, this is why I don't understand how that bloke can have worn a suit and been tidy, because he actually used to wear the suit sometimes when he was showing us how to cast. And you're thinking, how could you flick this stuff around? It goes everywhere.
That's a great noise.
It is, isn't it? Okay, that's the first bit. And I'll just pour in a bit more now I've done that. Just hoping these walls will hold. It's one of the reasons why I do it in these tubs, because there are times when your walls will collapse. And then if they're in a tub, then you can clean it all up.
I love that. Very funny.
And when the stuff's foamed up a bit more, I'll just put some more over her breasts.
It looks quite good.
There's like boobs sticking out there. What I'm doing is I'm just agitating the top of the surface gently, because if there are air bubbles in the plaster below, they come up to the surface. So for instance, if you're setting something in a bucket and you do that, then you'll find that the air bubbles rise. Okay. Just thinking, if I put her up, she made the walls a bit higher, I think. It's already, can you see it's already started getting quite a lot thicker now?
Mm-hmm.
I love this stuff. And I love the fact that, you know, I use it and Rodin used it. Yes. It must be like you. Do you work in oils?
I work in acrylic at the moment. I have worked in oils, but I'm mainly in acrylic actually.
So your big forebears are some of the Americans, aren't you?
Absolutely. No, but I love the smell of oils.
Yeah, I do. My mum used to work in oils. She works in acrylic more lately, but it's a shame she's given up painting. It's a real shame, she's very good. I'm amazed that hasn't collapsed yet. I think that's more or less it. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye now. Right, bye.